Hello and welcome to Korins Tower. My name is Steven.
Hey guys, it's Justin.
And I want to start off by apologizing. We were unable to get you a video last week. We have been super busy. But I want to start out just by saying that don't forget to check out the Dragon Ball Z TCG.wikia.com. It has more official rulings, essentially. If you can't find what you're looking for in the CRD or the tournament guide or the rulebook, it has specific cards in here with the rulings and clarifications and extra details. Some people at Panini keep it updated, and they normally update it before regionals, especially just to make sure if you have any questions or anything about cards, you can pull them up, pull it up on your phone. It's really good. But yeah, there's a lot of good info there. And actually on the homepage of it, if you scroll down, it gives you the list of the most recent. So instead of you having to go through everything once you get caught up on there, just look at the latest activity and you can see, what has been added and what's been changed to kind of keep you updated to what's going on. But anyways, yes. So back to Korins Tower. We had a comment. I'm so excited.
Yay.
Are you excited? I'm excited.
I'm excited.
All right, so I want to thank Don Von Bliss, and I apologize if I mispronounced that for any reason, for leaving us a comment. And I'm just going to read this comment. It's a great comment. He says, "Great show, guys. Steven, you suck, and I hate you." Yeah, I know. A lot of people hate me. But he said he was just kidding. But he did want us to see if we can talk about a deck that might potentially be in the top contenders for regionals. The answer to that question to actually be to come up with a deck that could be meta, that is currently not in meta, that would be impressive. That would be impressive to be able to do that. But I haven't had time to specifically build a deck. But as you can see on our table here, I have Garlic Jr. So I did a little bit of research for Don Von Bliss, and just to kind of think about what was going on. And this is pretty much based off the last regional for Kansas City, and the majority of the top decks were Captain Ginyu and mainly Krillin, SCC Krillin. And the majority of the Krillin damage was pretty much getting Krillin's Destructo Disc. A lot of people were talking about, what are you going to do about D-Disc, or K-Disc. No, they said D-Disc. Yeah, KD Disc. I don't know how people are their slang or their awesomeness. But anyways, Krillin Destructo Disc. There was one game that essentially the guy drew 3 cards, had 2 discs in his hand, just went straight into combat, opened up with that, and then the next combat he got a disc and a visiting, and he visiting into a disc, and he just did 2 more discs, and that pretty much sealed the deal right there. I mean, 4 discs is not exactly going to kill your opponent, but getting 4 discs within the first 2 combats of the game, that's a big deal.
Yeah, well, if his opponent would have used a physical attack, I'm sure he would have been fine. But right. Yes, it can. If your opponent can't stop you from using them, yeah, that's pretty devastating. Yeah, and I mean, right now the meta really doesn't have much physical, which is one thing that people can focus on to say, hey, we can get against physical. But then you have the problem with the Captain Ginyu. He's like, oh, I got 1,000 allies. You can perform physical attacks all day. I don't care. So that brings me to Garlic Jr. I had a thought. Had a dream, and I was like, boom, Garlic Jr. So when you look at Garlic Jr., you defaultly are probably going to be like I was. And it's like, oh, he's obviously good with Dragon Balls. He looks awesome for MPPV. That's what we're going to go for. What doesn't actually go into your mind is survival. He's a weak character. Why would you play survival with a weak character? Now, I'm going to go in details with this. So, Garlic Jr., all his levels reduced life, well, except for level 4, which you don't want to be on. But level 1, 2, and 3 reduce your opponent's damage, life cards, and level 3 is also power stages. And the thing was I noticed that there was a couple orange decks playing Orange Hiding Drill, and it made such a huge difference against the black decks that he had to face. He did really well, and he just kept Orange Hiding Drill out there.
and it was awesome. He did really well with it. And I'm just thinking here, I'm like, Orange Hiding Drills -2 life cards, and that card had a huge advantage against the black decks, or all the decks essentially that dealt damage. And I'm just looking at this, I'm like, okay, well, Garlic Jr. passively gets that. So without counting, specific style, obviously you can throw Garlic Jr. in orange real quick and be like, oh, it's -4 life cards. But just think about it for a minute. I mean, his level 1, they do 1 less life card to damage. Why do people normally run Krillin with Disc and in black or orange? Because it's a guaranteed crit. What does Garlic Jr. level 1 do? Make it not a guaranteed crit anymore. Look at there. That already helps you out a little bit. Then on top of that, his level 2 and his level 3 reduce it by 2 life cards of damage. So now you just have a disc that does 3 life cards. Woo! Look at that. Perform those energy attacks at doing 3 life cards. There we go. Yeah, it's unstoppable. I can't use endurance on those 3 life cards, but you know what? I don't care. I don't care because I just reduce your damage by 2 of the 5 life cards. That's really good. Then when you come back to Ginyu on this as well, Ginyu, yeah, they normally have, I feel like they have lots of attacks. I mean, it depends on what Ginyu decks you're playing against. But essentially, they have all their allies out there that do their cool effects, and then they still get their hand. It's like, it almost feels like they have 2 hands. But essentially, if I'm able to reduce all their damage by a set number constantly from my personality power, I can reduce effectively their hand size, sort of, but not really hand size. It's more damage. But you get where I'm coming from.
Right. It doesn't matter how many attacks they have. Right. Like, you're still able to prevent damage from all of them. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I need 2 defenses to stop their 2 attacks. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter how many attacks he has. I have something that's going to reduce the damage from all of them.
Right, exactly. And what's really cool about Garlic Jr. that I didn't notice, because I always play him in PPV. I'm guilty, I know. But, so level 1, he needs 2 less anger to level, and his power gains him an anger. So, in theory, defaultly, he's going to level from 1 to 2 on his own. Okay, boom, right there, you're at level 2. You don't even have to run anger in your deck. And you're level 2, you get the -2 life cards against your opponent. That's awesome. That is pretty much, you're set for most of the meta to reduce its damage. Then, on top of that, if you want to run Dragon Balls, or if your opponent runs Dragon Balls, when you deal damage, or when damage is dealt and a Dragon Ball is revealed, then you'll gain 1 anger. So that can effectively get you to level 3 as well. So essentially, you can get from 1 to 3 without having 1 anger in your deck at all. At all. So,
yes,
if you do that, and you don't really run anger, you don't run much, you literally don't have to worry about level 4. Just don't go to level 4. Just be like, you know what? I'm going to stay at level 2. I'm going to stay at level 3. And guess what? I literally just don't have to worry about the meta as much right now. I literally come in there. I'm level 2, level 3. And I'm going to play whatever deck I want. And, oh, yeah, you're playing Krillin with Destructive Disc. You're playing Ginyu with 1,000 attacks. Cool story, bro. That's okay. It's not going to hurt as bad.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, like you said, you don't even need to run any anger. You're just going to, unless your opponent just keeps lowering your anger. But, you can just passively get up to level 3 without having any anger in the cards in your actual life deck. And then just stay at level 3 because, his level 3 doesn't actually gain you any anger. So you don't have to worry about getting to your level 4 and just them destroying you. You can just stay on level 3 and constantly reduce damage from their attacks. Even if you're just on level 2, though, that's good right there because you have the -2 life cards. The level 3 is going to reduce another 2 power stages, but the 2 life cards is a lot bigger deal, I think, than the power stages.
Most definitely, especially for the meta.
Yes, and the current meta with all the Krillins and the Ginyus, which are basically just, energy focused, especially if they're playing a black or an orange style with that extra life card from the mastery, that's going to nullify that at least, which is huge. They're not getting that extra damage, which they depend on, which they're building their deck with that in mind, that, hey, I'm going to have this extra damage from my mastery. And if they play against the Garlic Jr., well, they're not getting that damage. So that's going to disrupt their plans right then and there, just from you using Garlic Jr.
Yeah, it's going to be a big deal. And just to throw this out there as well, his level 3 also gives you a little bit of utility against Dragon Ball decks. Yeah, Dragon Ball decks aren't really, I don't feel they're really in the meta. There's some good Lord Slugs out there, I know, but as far as the top 16, there's not really too many actual Dragon Balls you have to worry about. But if for some reason the meta slightly changes and Dragon Balls actually become a threat, you can easily just roll a couple of cards that gain anger, and you automatically get to capture Dragon Balls. Just like, you know what, I'm on level 3. Yeah, I don't have enough anger to actually, you know, get me to 4 to try to win my MVP. But you know what, I got this one card gains me 1 anger. My opponent's going to win by Dragon Ball victory. You know what, I'm just going to play this card gains 1 anger out of the blue, and I'm going to take your Dragon Ball. You know, it's just a nice little utility on top of all the damage reduction he already has.
Mm-hmm. You know, he's such a versatile personality that I'm surprised that not more people are using him. Because he, you know, with his abilities, he's good with Dragon Ball decks, MPP decks, and survival decks. You know, you just get to whatever kind of deck you want to run, you can use Garlic Jr. in it pretty successfully. And you're going to get the benefits, at least from the reduced damage. Even if you're not, you know, like we were just talking about, even if you're not running Dragon Balls or any anger, you're still going to get the damage reduction, which is massive. So I'm surprised that people aren't using him more often. Because he is very powerful. And, you know, his power-up rating is huge.
Yeah,
power rating is humongous. I mean, that right there is awesome. You're reducing life cards of damage from his power, and then you're gaining back a lot of power stages from his power rating. So really, he does take the least amount of damage of anyone in the game right now. So if you're looking for a defensive personality, this is the way to go, I think. Yeah. Pull out the Garlic Jr.
Yeah, most definitely. And I want to point this out. I'm glad you actually mentioned, you know, a defensive personality. I feel that people get too focused on one thing, and they're just like, oh, I got this personality that specifically goes MPP. I got to focus on MPP. Or I got this personality for Dragon Ball. I got to focus on Dragon Ball. I got this personality for defense. I got to focus on defense. I mean, if you think about it, because he gives you the defense, that's less defense you have to worry about. Instead of thinking about, oh man, this is a really good defense guy, I got to build a blue defense deck. No. Take this guy, have your defense, and then go in with a normal, you know, hybrid. I got a little bit of defense, I got a little bit of attacks, a little bit of utility, and own your opponent. Show them, like, blow their mind with how you're doing this. You know, I mean, it comes to the fact of Krillin. You know, how many Krillin decks succeed just because he has an attack on his first 3 levels? A lot of them. Yeah,
oh, yeah.
You can easily go in with a defensive deck with Krillin, and you still can be, you know, you can still dish out enough damage because of his powers. It's the same thing with Garlic Jr., but reversed. You can go in there with having damage attacks, you know, having nice damage attacks, and then not have to worry about defense as much because you just straight up reduce the damage.
Oh yeah, it's really effective. And you know, there aren't really any other defensive personalities that I can think of. I mean, pretty much everyone else is either just utility or damage oriented. Nobody there's not even one power that stops an attack that I can think of. I don't think I have one.
No, there's there's Ally, that's Goldo, and
well, yeah, the Chi-Chi and Piccolo.
Yeah, no, there's.
But as far as a main personality goes, this is it. If you want a defensive personality, this is it. It's your one-stop Garlic Jr. You know, that's it. That's your only choice. But like you said, you know, you don't have to just build a defensive deck. You know, building an offensive deck while having his defensive powers can be very effective.
Yeah. Definitely. And I don't want to, you know, obviously I root for, you know, Saiyan and Red, you know, mostly. And right now I feel that Saiyan Red and then, you know, a little bit of Namekian is not actually seeing tournaments as much as I would like, because I like to see everything. But I do want to throw out here, I mean, how awesome would it be to be on level 3, have Dragon Ball 6 in play, and be orange and have Orange Hiding Drill in play? Neg 4 passively? Anybody? I'll take that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, yeah, with you know, Don Von Bliss was asking, you know, a deck that could work in the current meta. Well, you know, a specific deck, we don't know, but a personality to use would be Garlic Jr. for sure, because the Krillin decks and the Captain Ginyu decks that are winning are very damage oriented, specifically energy attacks. You know, a lot of life cards. And, you know, this guy, it's what he does. He prevents life cards, or he reduces, I should say, modifies life cards. So, really, he should be an obvious choice to prevent those decks from really, you know, getting a stranglehold on them.
Which is a big deal, because, like you said, it's not preventing, it's modifying. So right. It gets around stuff like Turles, or anything that says, you know, it prevent, or, you know, you can't be prevented. You're not preventing it, you're reducing it. You know, that's why it works so well against Krillin's Instructor Disc.
Mm-hmm.
And he's even got a couple of good cards I just want to throw out here real quick. A Garlic Jr.'s Counterblast. Energy attack costs 2, dealing 5. I mean, if it deals critical damage, it can deal critical damage, which is nice. Raise your anger 2 levels, which helps you get to your, you know, get up on your level. So even if the only anger card you run in your deck is Garlic Jr.'s Counterblast, that's 6 anger. Plus his level 1 gains you anger. You could easily get to level 3 without a problem. And then the damage modifiers on your main personality powers are doubled. So I can easily be like, oh, you know, I'm going to push from level 2 to level 3, and now I do neg 4 for this combat, or I do neg 4 for this combat, or even at level 1 if you need a little boost there, it's it's neg 2 until you get to the next level, and then it's going to be neg 4. So I mean, he's even got a card that buffs his power, which is the whole purpose of this conversation of using his personality, is because his power is so awesome. You just get to double how awesome it is with Counterblast.
Oh yeah, it's almost like having another Timer's Warrior's tool in a way, but you have 3 of them. Because if you're at level 3, and you use the Counterblast, that's neg 4, neg 4.
Yeah.
You know what are they going to do? All of the attacks that they have, unless they just have some crazy modifiers going on, are going to be it's like they're flicking you.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe 1 life card, or 2 life cards of damage from one of their energy attacks. It's not going to amount to anything. So you have an entire combat to sit there and you just have your way with them, and not even just take the attacks to the face. All you have to worry about are their hit effects. But yeah, it's an offensive, like you said. It can even crit because it does 5 life cards base, and it's also defensive because it doubles your power. So it's a great card all around.
Right. And honestly, you just reminded me of something with that, because of the whole double is MP's power. If we're going to go again with another specific style that he would be good with, red, I know a lot of people are like, oh, MPP, yeah, red. But think about an energy beatdown red that actually uses, a drill / the energies that don't really gain a lot of anger. And just think about the fact that you have the red blazing aura. All your opponent's attacks do neg 3, gain an anger for the remainder of combat. And then you have the setup where Red Destiny, I think, all your opponent's attacks do neg 2, and you gain 2 anger. So, like you were saying, Garlic Jr.'s Counterblast is a pseudo, Time as a Warrior's tool. Well, in red, you also can add in just as effective as Counterblast. You have 2 other red cards you can add in. One's a setup, one's an event. So essentially, what's that? 3, 6, 9 with the Counterblast plus Time as a Warrior's tool. I got 10 Time as a Warrior's tools in my deck. What? What? That's not broken.
Right. I mean, honestly, I think you could just run those cards and the rest of your deck just be a bunch of attacks. You might be okay still.
Yeah.
You just have enough passive damage reduction for the modifiers that it might just work. I'm not saying that, I haven't tested this myself, but...
It sounds good, right?
In theory, I think it could be done.
Yeah, totally. And I don't want to leave this other card out. Honestly, I have no experience with this card, just because... I never really saw a need for Garlic Jr. to have this card, because his level 3 power, I just took so many Dragon Balls it didn't matter. But, just in case, if you're not Dragon Ball focused or MPP focused, you even have this setup here. Limit 2 per deck, power, shuffle all Dragon Balls in play into their owner's life deck, and search your life deck for a Dragon Ball and place it into play. This card, if for some reason, like I said, if you have Dragon Ball issues, toss 1 or 2 of these suckers in there, and you're golden. You're like, oh, look at that. I'm gonna stop you from getting Dragon Ball victory, and more than likely, if you're beat down, I'm gonna play Dragon Ball 6. If I want to deal damage to you, I'm gonna play Dragon Ball 1. Like, it's awesome. It's just straight up, don't have to worry about their Dragon Ball victory. And then you just get a Dragon Ball that either helps you survive even more, or you get a Dragon Ball that helps you deal damage.
Oh yeah, it's a great card. I mean, both of his name cards are awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and I did want to point out for his level 2, there was some confusion. Just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. It says, whenever a Dragon Ball is revealed when taking damage, raise your anger 1 level. This means any player taking damage. It doesn't mean just when he is taking damage. It is official on the Wikia page. But yes, anyone taking damage. So you can literally deal 4 life cards of damage to your opponent. If 2 Dragon Balls are revealed, you're gaining 2 anger. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes, which... It's it says that on the card. It doesn't just say you when you take damage. So it's pretty self-evident, but people out there still aren't too familiar, I guess, with the way these the cards are worded and what they actually mean, or maybe they're just not paying attention. And they're confused about it, But yeah, just a clarification.
Yeah. We just want to make sure everybody's on the same page and everybody has a fair chance of of winning, because it's about having fun, and you want to win if you're having fun, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, next cards on the list here. And these are more, honestly, just clarifications as far as what I got. So, it was brought up, kind of confusing, due to the blue... You want to name that card for me? For some reason, I can't think of it.
Blue Guard?
Blue Guard, thank you. Yeah, I'm thinking of Blue Guard. All right, so these cards, if they're discarded from your hand from a card effect, this one's placed into play, Black Declaration, and Blue Lifting Drill is also placed into play.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, that's a May for the Blue Lifting Drill, by the way. So the thing is people were getting this confused with Blue Guard. I guess they assume that because Blue Guard doesn't proc like the Blue Mastery for if it's a styled card, or Piccolo's Power if it was a styled card, that it affected everything, but it doesn't, because these don't say instead on them. So I just want to point that out, that if you discard Black Declaration or Blue Lifting Drill to Piccolo or Blue Mastery, you still get the effect of the fact that the card that you discarded was a styled card.
Right, that Blue Guard is just a special case.
Yeah. Also, on top of that, for Blue Lifting Drill, for Black Declaration and Blue Lifting Drill, if you discard either of these for Piccolo's Power, you have to complete the first sentence. It's in the CRD. You complete the first sentence before you actually do the effects that essentially, I always call them procking effects, but so in this case, if I discarded Blue Lifting Drill to Piccolo's level 2 power, it says discard a card from your hand to regenerate 2 cards, and your opponent destroys the top 2 cards of his life deck. So that is the first sentence. So I would discard Blue Lifting Drill, okay? And then I would have to regenerate 2. So I'm regenerating Blue Lifting Drill and then the card under it. And then my opponent discards the top 2 cards of his life deck. Now that that sentence is resolved, the floating effect of Blue Lifting Drill says if this card is discarded from your hand by a card effect, you may place it into play. Since it's at the bottom of your life deck, Panini ruled it to where you literally can go to the bottom of your life deck, pull Blue Lifting Drill out, and place it into play from your life deck. You don't have, you don't have, it doesn't literally go into play as you discard it. No, it gets regenerated from Piccolo's Power first, and then you pull it from your deck and place it into play. That specific copy.
Which I don't like at all, really, because you're looking at your life deck, basically. I know you know what cards you just put down there, but still you have to go back and look at your life deck to get this card back out of it. Which in that case, I think you would have to shuffle, because what if you see the card below that, or the one next in line? It's just kind of weird that you would put the card in your deck and then get it right back out with nothing else taking effect.
Right.
It seems like it could be taken advantage of. I don't know. That's my opinion. Maybe they could change the effect somehow on the card to prevent that, or maybe just make it a special ruling to talk about what to do in that situation. But I just think it's a little strange that that is the case. Yeah. That you actually put it in your deck, and then the ability from that card that's already back in your deck activates. It's just weird. It's a weird timing of effects.
It is, and it definitely can be confusing. Honestly, if I came up with a ruling for that, just to kind of more of a clarification to try to balance out people not cheating, like you said, by seeing the bottom card of their deck, or using it to their advantage, I would essentially just have it to where they have to pull the bottom, like they regenerate 2, and then they literally pull the bottom 2 off, and then look at them, pull the Blue Lifting Drill out, and then put the bottom one back. So instead of you flipping your deck completely over, just be like, you have to keep your deck face down, slide out the bottom 2 because you know that you just regenerated the bottom 2. It's obvious, and then you pull Blue Lifting Drill out of that, and then put the other card back.
It's just so weird. Like, it's a little finicky, I think, that this card has it has a special ruling associated with it where, be careful, don't slide out, keeping the cards face down, slide those 2 cards back out and pull the card. You know where it's at, but don't look at it. It's the second card from the bottom.
Yeah.
You can't turn it around and look at it.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's weird that it has this own little quirky ruling associated with it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah. I couldn't. In a regional and in tournament play, obviously I couldn't say that you shouldn't, obviously play it like that way. But if I was playing casual or something and someone did this and they were like having issues with it, I would literally just be like, hey dude, are you planning, it says May on the card on this one, are you planning on putting it into play? And if they're like yes, I was like, okay, go ahead and set it on the table, regenerate the one card, and then it's now in play and you placed it into play now. You know, just to kind of make it a little easier on them for casual play. But in a regional, it is going to be a big deal, you know, just in case, you know, because it is official rule. We have to make sure that we're not doing silly things, getting in trouble.
Yes.
So, but Black Declaration is not a May. You have to do it. It is a trigger you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah. So.
It's interesting to see, you know, just how many little rulings are coming up. You know, once, you know, we've got all these regionals going on now, so there are a lot of questions being asked and a lot of situations being brought up to the, you know, the official judges or people from Panini that maybe, you know, weren't brought up before, and just, you know, the local plays at the tournaments and local card shops. But, you know, there are a lot of little rulings like this that they're cropping up. And it's just interesting to see, you know, how far is this going to go? Is it going to be like the Saiyan Saga from the old game, where there's like basically, you know, you look at the CRD and just there are rules for every card. You know what I mean? Like, I hope that's not the trend, that there's going to be so many different cards that have specific, unique rulings associated with them. Yeah. And I just hope that they design cards in the future to try and prevent this issue, because it's going to be a pain to try and keep track of all these.
Well, I'm pretty sure the next set is going to be way more organized, and I think the main issue with the first three sets, mainly due to the first set, is that there was so much card text on these cards to make them appeal to old, you know, Dragon Ball Z players and to get new people into the game, that they're like, oh, we want to make this all fancy and everything, and they got all these card effects, and like, oh, we're going to, you know, get Piccolo with 13,000 different effects on his level 2, or, you know, all this other crazy stuff. And then when it actually came to the gameplay, it was like, oh, there is a bazillion interactions that we're going to have to clarify, because there's a bazillion interactions that we put on one card. You know, yeah. I mean, if you think about the old game or even other games, I mean, there's not that many cards that have that much text on it that interact differently depending on the card. Normally it's like, okay, yeah, there might be a lot of text on the card, but you just do what the card says and you're golden. But in this game, in the way, you know, especially with set 1 personalities, there's so many different sentences on one card that have different interactions, that when you interact other interactions with those, it can be very confusing.
Like interacting interactions?
Exactly. You know, I mean, it becomes a big deal if it wasn't, you know, if it was like, oh, I'm going to play this card and then this next card takes effect and then this next card takes effect, you know, it'd be different. But the way Dragon Ball Z just works, it's like, okay, well, when this happens. And you're like, well, this just happened 16 times. Where do I put it at? You know? Right,
yeah. There's so much going on each card that it's difficult to know when to use the effects of the card at what time. You know, there's several cards trying to have effects that are trying to activate at the same time. You know, when do you stop doing the effect of one card and switch to the other? You know, do you do it after the first sentence when the full card's done? You know, and then sometimes it depends on the card that's being activated. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be. And honestly, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, Saiyan Saga and Frieza Saga, I mean, there was a lot of changes for those cards, and it honestly didn't become stable until, you know, kind of Trunks Saga-ish in my mind. It might have been later for some other people, but, I mean, I think the thing is just, you know, set 1 is, it's like, hey, let's appeal this to everybody, and we got to get some people going in. And then it came out similar to Saiyan Saga, except for with masteries. And if you just think about it, if Saiyan Saga had masteries, you would be royally confused. I mean, it was already confusing enough with how Saiyan Saga went. So adding masteries to it just would make it even that much worse. And having 2 sets of experience before integrating Takawaza with the masteries and everything, I think helped get used to some stuff and then get some clarifications going. With this, you know, we have to actually start with Saiyan Saga and Trunks Saga fused together and have to go at it, you know. And you can't really you can't really blame anybody for that. I mean, some card games end up being like that, and, you know, honestly, the way the first 3 sets are, I like how it came out. I like how it unfolded. There was some stuff here and there, but for the most part, I would totally rather play the first 3 sets of Panini than play the first 3 sets of Dragon Ball Z from Score, hands down. But with that said, you still have the issue. So I think that's just the problem. Is essentially you got handed Saiyan Saga and you got handed Trunks Saga all in one set. And then you had to figure out a way to rebalance that issue through set 2 and set 3. And I really feel that set 4, with the new masteries and everything, I feel that it's going to be a lot better. I have lots of hope for that. Yeah.
I mean, they've got 3 sets of experience under their belts, so I'm sure they can make some improvements. And like you say, we can't really fault them, for little quirky rulings like this, because there's so many different effects. They can't possibly know every interaction that this card's going to have when they're designing it. Things like this are just going to pop up. They weren't planned, I'm sure, but it happens in every card game. Certain cards are going to interact with each other in weird ways, and they're going to need some specific rulings. It's just that I find it kind of alarming that we've seen so many of these interactions already just with 3 sets. I just hope they take measures to prevent it, hopefully, in the future.
I'm sure they will. And honestly, probably so many measures are being taken because of regionals and worlds. I mean, I don't even know when Score had their first regional, how many sets were out. In all honesty, I don't know if you remember.
I can't think of.
But
I don't know.
But in all honesty, I still think that they, so many people are pushing to have organized play. And they wanted, regionals and worlds and stuff. That's another thing that Panini had to deal with. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we want to give the public regionals, we want to give public worlds, we want to have all this awesome events and everything going on. That there was a lot more chances to balance out the Score game before they actually started doing big events versus Panini's like, okay, set 2's out, we got to start working on organized play. And it's like, well, we got a lot of balancing to do. We got a lot of stuff, we gotta take care of. There was already lots of cards in Saiyan Saga and Frieza Saga and even Trunks Saga that I know that hardly ever got used once I started going to regionals, or even just Score events, for that matter. I mean, there was. I'm not gonna lie. That was what we had. We had Times Warriors Tool. We had all your stop defenses, stop all defenses. You had battle pausing, and then you had Trunks Energy Sphere.
Confrontation and Stare Down.
Stare Down was from Android Saga.
Yeah.
And then you had Krillin Seat Sinking Blast. So, excluding main personalities, there was only 7 cards that got used from the first 4 sets, like, completely actively. Like, they were kind of staple. There was only 7.
There may have been more than that.
There may have been, but I'm just thinking, hypothetically, when you only use a handful of cards. Yeah, when you only use a handful of cards from the first couple of sets that are obviously unbalanced, it's a lot easier to deal with than being like, oh, I'm using a third of the first set and a third of the second set and a third of the third set, and there's so many things that can interact with each other. It's just crazy.
Right.
It's like solving a mystery just to get a card to play correctly.
Yeah.
Can we play a side game under the table? I think it'd be more easy than finishing this game we got going on.
See, this is why, we stressed in the other videos, it's important to know the rules. It's important to know how these cards are interacting with each other. Because you need to play them correctly. If you're playing them incorrectly and someone else notices and they call a judge over, you could get penalized for it.
Oh, yeah.
So, even though these are quirky and you may not want to have to learn all these little rulings like this, it's good to know. If you're going to be in organized play, trying to compete to be the best of the best, you're going to need to know how to do this stuff. So, just keep that in mind.
Yes, most definitely. And for you out there, because obviously... I'm amazing, besides, I got called that, what I get called? I was what did he call me? Oh, he hates me. He hates me, that's what he called me. I was trying to remember what he called me. I thought he called me something, but anyway.
I think you said that in the video.
I did.
Yeah.
I said, leave me a comment, tell me you hate me. But like, I don't know, I feel sometimes that some of these rules are getting put in there that are more common sense to me as an active player. And some people, you know, some people can pick up on things easily and some people can't. I still think the Wikia is definitely something you should check out and keep updated on. But that's not to say that you're going to go in there and look at it and be like, man, I gotta memorize 1,000 rules. You know, it's not like that. It's more like you just need to glance at the clarifications that you might not be familiar with. And then the other ones you're going to look at and be like, oh, well, I was already playing that card that way. There was one person or maybe 10 people out of the 1,000 people out of the first, you know, 6 regionals that didn't know that clarification. So Panini, being awesome, they're just going to update the Wikia and say, hey, guess what? This question got asked, so we want to make sure it's clarified. Well, yeah, maybe there might only be maybe 1% of the actual population was playing it wrong. But they want to clarify it. So don't feel like you're also overwhelmed by a bazillion different rules. There might be some quirky ones in there, but some of these also might just be ones that you already were playing correctly, and someone just asked the question and Panini wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page. I mean, it's the same reason why we do these videos. We just want to make sure everybody's on the same page and enjoying playing the game. We don't want you to get stressed out because you think there's a 1,000 different things going on, or someone told you one thing and you're getting told another thing. We want to make sure everybody's on the same page. We want to make sure everybody's enjoying the game. And just, you know, I don't want you freaking out because there's like, oh man, there's 1,000 rules going on. It's like, well, there's 1,000 clarifications, but that's because there was 10% of the population actually asked those questions. So, just don't want you freaking out.
Yes.
But,
yes.
Anyways, I think there was a lot of ranting there. So
we did rant a bit. We tend to do that.
Yes. I like my rants, but at the same time, I need something going on. I'll try to make y'all a video or something where it has, you know, Gohan walking along in Dreamland when we start ranting or something. I don't know.
Something to look at.
Right. So last card on the list here. I'm gonna let you. I can't read that. Whatever. I can't pronounce that name.
Blue Precarious Defense?
Yes, thank you. That card. So it's a physical combat card. You may discard this card from your hand during the planning step. If you do, choose a setup in play and place it at the bottom of its owner's life deck. Endurance 1, prevent all damage from a physical attack. I really like this card. I've never used it since I don't really play blue much, but I really like this card. But I just want to throw out there because I've seen people try to use it while someone played a card, like, you know, they play, for instance, they play Visage. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, I want to get rid of that. And then they get rid of it, and then their opponent's still playing setups, drills, and allies. And they jump in there. And there's your power-up rating. I know back in the old game, if you're familiar with it, it's a different step. You actually, in your planning step, you play your setups, drills, and allies. And then, once you're done, you actually power up. You'll power up your main personality, power up your allies. Now, I just want to throw this out there for the best usage of this card. If you want to use this, but you're like, man, it's just hard for me to get the timing on that, or making sure that they already played every card because you don't want them having to play another card. Wait until they power up. When you see them powering up, be like, okay, I'm playing this card to get rid of that setup. Because once they start powering up, they're no longer allowed to play allies, drills, or setups. Once they power up, they have chosen that they are done placing cards into play during the planning step, and they are now powering up, which is essentially kind of the end of the planning step. Mm-hmm. So just, if you want to use this card the most efficient as possible, you got in your hand, you're like, man, I really want to get rid of that setup, but they might be playing another setup during this planning step, and they're just taking their time placing cards down. Just be like, okay, I'm going to wait. You're powering up now? Okay, it's still your planning step, so I'm going to use this card and get rid of that setup. And you get to use it to your most advantage. You get to use it strategically, and you don't have to stress out of playing it before they just completely, finish their turn. And you're like, oh man, your planning step's over,
Right. No, it's very good advice. That's what you want to do with every card, is play it at the best possible moment. Timing is so key in this game, and yes, using this card to its fullest is exactly what you just said. Wait for them to power up, which is strange because you're doing two separate things in the planning step. You're placing things into play and you're powering up. Seems weird to me that they're both the same step whenever you specifically have to do one before the other. Seems like it should be two different steps, but it's not. Just keep that in mind. Powering up is still considered part of the planning step. So, yeah, I don't need to repeat what you just said, but yeah, it's a good strategy.
Yeah, I know how many times, like, I played Magic, and I played Magic online, and I played Magic, obviously, and physically. And there's so many times that I've always hated, like, they go from one step to the next in Magic, and you're like, oh man, I wanted to play this, and I got to do this, during your, upkeep or whatever. And it's kind of, on Magic Online, if you're playing, like, I play burn decks most of the time, but it like prompts you, essentially, are you sure you want to let your opponent go to the next step? And I don't want to have that in Dragon Ball Z. I don't want people to be like, I don't want Panini to make an official rule saying, okay, you have to declare when your step is over. Be like, my planning step is about to be over. Are you going to do anything? My rejuvenation step is about to be over. Are you going to do anything? I don't want that in Dragon Ball Z because it's super annoying. So anytime you can find a way to use triggers to your advantage, do it. Use the PUR trigger to your advantage to make sure that you can, play this card efficiently. If there's another card you see that, I don't know off the top of my head, but if there's another card you see that you're able to do this type of stuff with, use it to your advantage and make sure you're able to watch what your opponent's doing and use the cards at the right timing. Because trust me, you don't want to have to wait. You don't want them to have to tell you at the end of every single step in the game, because that just gets annoying.
Very time consuming.
Yes. Ugh. Man. All right. I think that's it. We're gonna bring out this card. Yes, this is the OK card, right? This is the OK card.
What is this?
It's the OK card.
Pass, no actions.
Yes. Wait. Actions. Yeah. Okay.
Waiting for actions.
We're waiting for actions.
Are these previews from set 4?
Oh man, they are, dude.
Wait, we got exclusive previews?
You see that art? Look at that art. The art's awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's from. I'm pretty sure DBZ Top Tier had got approval to. No, I'm just kidding. I do appreciate Octagon and DBZ Top Tier for this, because obviously you would have to look at a table of mine and watch my hands and all me placing cards onto the table. It probably wouldn't look very good. So I really appreciate having this this program to do this in.
Yes, it's very convenient.
That is all for today. I apologize. We went a little long, but we did miss a video last time, so just kind of catching up. I hope everyone does well at the regional this next weekend. I don't want to name the wrong one, so I'm not going to name the regional, but there's a regional coming up. Do awesome at it. And yeah, once again, my name's Steven.
Yep, I'm Justin.
And y'all have a fantastic day.
Later.